So hey everyone, and welcome back. So today we're going to be looking at the new Switch games coming out for this week. And I have 10 games to look at that I really think are top tier games for this week and that definitely need a little bit of showcasing. So let's jump into the games, and don't forget, if you are liking the video, to hit the like button. Now, our first game for this week is going to be Tales of Iron 2 Whiskers of Winter. Now, I personally love the first game. I have some good news as well. I do have a review code for this game, so I will be jumping into it very, very soon, maybe even streaming it on Friday. But I've got to say, this week has got a lot of competition for streaming, for what's going to be streamed on Friday. So I can't guarantee it yet. I want to wait till I really have a smorgasbord of everything available to me till I decide what we're going to stream. But basically, this is a 2D action game that has almost Souls-like combat to it. And what I love is, although the characters are anthropomorphic mice and rats, there's a storyline that is so deep and bloody that it almost reminds you of Game of Thrones. And from what I can tell from the trailer, the second one seems to be right along the same lines. So let's take a look. It's actually a pretty long trailer. This is going to be the longest trailer for today, but I think it's really worth it because it really tells us everything we need to know about the upcoming game. So let's take a look.
Sequel to the critically acclaimed action-adventure RPG, Tales of Iron 2 takes players on an epic voyage across the snow-ravaged
I really love
realms
the
of
art
the
style
northern
as well.
wastes. Featuring intense combat, epic boss battles, and a heart-rending saga of bloodshed and loss.
And they just said it though, it is pretty difficult game, so make sure that if you do pick it up, it's going to be a game that's going to challenge you.
Dark Wings, once and for all. Behold, the northern provinces of the Ratdom, an altogether harsher land than the sun-kissed south. The native rats are a hardy bunch, carved from iron, ice, and a gnawing fear that the horrors of the past might one day return.
And like I said, I love the storyline in this game because you sort of forget halfway through that you're playing a rat.
So did this terrible evil finally flee its glacial imprisonment. Lord Eivor, Warden of the North, proves no match for their befanged leader, leaving the fate of the kingdom resting with
Like I
his
said, you
own
can
heir.
immediately see the throwbacks to Game of Thrones.
But without
This game
nearly
looks...
enough winters behind him, there's little chance he'll prevail against Kazakh alone. As the young defender of the realm, embark on an arduous journey across 6 distinct biomes, from the glistening groves of Golden Forest to the ice-bitten plains of White Whiskers, to reunite the scattered clans of the North. But whether it's the studious owls of Nestminster or the solemn merfolk of Bogmire Forge, you'll need to prove your worth to their leaders.
So I'm liking to
before
see
they
that we're
heed
getting
the
into
call of
different
war.
clans and different than the first game, because the first game was really centered around the frogs and the rats.
Prowl these lands, ever eager to gorge themselves upon
And I say
my
that, and then
flesh.
immediately after we see a
They'll
frog.
take everything you've got to defeat, and even if you do gain the upper hand, there's always the chance these brutal behemoths will attempt to flee, ready to fight another day. Gather your strength, chase them down, finish the hunt, or take a much-needed rest yourself. Consult your trusty bestiary for crucial insights into a creature's strengths, weaknesses, and preferred hunting hours. Upon slaying such horrors,
Yeah, like I said, I think it was worth watching the full extended trailer here, just because I do think this is going to be one of the top games of this week.
Poison-resilient reptilian armor from the scales of a giant
Now, I
snake,
love this. The
and use
crafting
its fangs to craft
is a great
serpentine
addition here.
sword with a venomous bite.
You're also going to be able to check out the weaknesses and strengths of each of the enemies, adjust your weaponry like to those different enemies. It's a great like tactical addition.
From across the land, you can construct a number of buildings, including a cookhouse, where hearty meals will provide permanent stat buffs for a hungry warrior. And even ye olde eSHOP, stocked full of dangerous delights. Thanks to the hundreds of diverse weapons and armor sets awaiting discovery, you can fully customize your approach to combat. Long spears and lances allow for quick, nimble attacks, while hammers, heavy axes, and greatswords are slower to handle, but cause widespread desolation.
I freaking love the combat animations here. They're so visceral, and it really looks like you're damaging the enemies, because the enemies seem to react directly to the type of like attacks you're doing.
With a powerful collection of bows, crossbows, and even high-powered muskets. Whilst the tacticians among you might prefer to draw upon a selection of new, deadly traps, each dealing a different form of elemental damage.
Man, that was freaking awesome, man. You freaking blow his head off with a trap.
And of course, there's Elementa, a brand new magic system. As you progress through the world, you'll unlock and upgrade 4 devastating sorceries: thunder, poison, fire, and ice.
So that's playing directly into the weaknesses of the bosses.
These elemental abilities deal extensive damage and can turn the tide in desperate battle. Steel yourself. The future of the Ratdom rests upon your pauldrons. Unite the disparate clans. Rebuild Winter's Edge. And wield the very power of the gods. Only then will you stand but a chance against the tyrannical Count Kazak and his infernal legions. Your tale.
Super excited for this game.
Tales of Iron 2, Whiskers of Winter.
Now, I forgot to say at the beginning, but this game is releasing on January 28th. So there's a strong chance that when you're watching this video, the game is already out. It's going to be selling for $24.99 for the regular version and $29.99 for the deluxe version, which basically gives you like an armor pack and some extra customization options for like a beard and different visual options. However, there is a really good thing to note is that there is a pre-order sale. So if you are watching the stream tonight as we're talking about this, it is 20% off on a pre-order. That's actually a pretty big pre-order discount, but you'll see it's going to be a theme for tonight. You can actually pick up the regular version for $19.99 or the deluxe edition for $23.99. So I rarely say pre-order a game, but this one I might actually recommend taking a chance on. So that was pretty much our first game for tonight. But I definitely think that if you're into challenging action, 2D action games, this one is going to most likely be a very strong entry. I did check out a few preliminary feelings for the game, and some people are saying it is on the track for the first game. However, I have seen that some people are saying it's slightly weaker than the first game, while other people are saying it's slightly better. So it does seem to be a little bit mixed. However, I haven't seen any that have not liked it. So I do think it's going to be a great pickup for this week. Now, that jumps us in to our game number 2. Now, our game number 2 is also releasing on January 28th, so most likely it's going to be out by the time you're watching this video, and that is Cuisineer, which is a game that is releasing for $29.99. Now, this game has a really original concept, and immediately it reminds me of Dave the Diver, which is huge compliments. Now, is it going to be as good as that game? I'm thinking maybe not, but it does have the same type of blend where you're basically going to be doing some dungeon crawling during the day, and then you're going to be running a restaurant at night. However, the restaurant seems to be a little bit more hands-on than Dave the Diver, and rather than going under the sea to catch fish, you're going to be exploring through dungeons to get ingredients. Now, I love the mix of Dave the Diver. It was a great mix of like action when you're under the water and fun sort of admin gameplay when you're running the sushi shop. Now, this one feels like it has the same blend. If it can get just a little fraction of the same magic together, this could be a great pickup for this week. Let's look at the trailer and, see if we have anything else to say. It obviously has a much more cutesy perspective to it, though. It's going for like the cutesy anime perspective, however. Yes, Moonlighter would be another very good comparison. Basically, mixing roguelike dungeon crawling with ultimately a management sim at night. It's just that the restaurant aspect sort of threw me back to more Dave the Diver because it's the restaurant aspect. But you're right, the moment-to-moment gameplay maybe reminds me even more of Moonlighter. And let's be honest, both of those comparisons are very big compliments, because Moonlighter's an excellent indie game, and Dave the Diver is fantastic. So this is releasing this week. Like I said, it will have a sales price of $29.99. There is a physical day one edition. Frenchie Mom says she picked up the collector's edition here, the day one edition that you see right now on the screen. I was very tempted to do so. I simply didn't because there were too many games this week. I wanted to have the budget to make sure I could pick up as many as possible. But you know what? If I find a day one edition, maybe in a week or two, that might be something I'll look into. But definitely a great consideration for this week, especially if you like that mix of like dungeon crawling / management sim. I do think this is going to be a slightly more laid back game. However, one that will be really addictive in its gameplay loop. So if that's the type of game you're looking for this week, $29.99 is not a bad investment here. I would have liked to see the digital edition at $25. I do think it would have been more competitive at that price, but $29.99 is still respectable. Okay, now that brings us to our next game for this week, and that is the Stone of Madness. Now, this game is also releasing on the 28th. It is our last game for the 28th. However, we have 7 other games after this that are releasing at future dates. This game will be selling for $29.99 for the regular version or $34.99 for the deluxe version. Now, by the way, the deluxe version this time around, you're looking at an art book and a soundtrack. So, food for thought, extra $5. Do you want that art book and soundtrack? Now, this game was actually featured in a Nintendo Direct, and it is sort of the mix of a stealth game with a sort of psychological background to it. It's a stealth tactical game. However, there's a big play on the psychology of the characters as you're all trapped in like this sort of prison-like environment and you're trying to basically get out by manipulating the special abilities of each individual character. However, at the same time, these characters also share different weaknesses to psychological impacts, and you have to try to basically not trigger any of their psychoses. So it's a really funky game. I do think it's going to have a ton of potential. It's just a little bit sad that it's coming out in such a busy week on the indie side, because I do think it's maybe going to be overshadowed by some of the other games this week. But it does feel like a very, very interesting concept.
They locked me up when I learned the truth.
My bad. So we're going to see a little bit of gameplay here.
I have met others that will assist me. Others that want to flee. We are planning our escape. And everyone has their role to play.
So as you can see, you have to manipulate the abilities of different characters. And it's almost Diablo-esque, I find, in its like skill tree and things. But obviously, it's going to be a very different style of gameplay.
What happened here? This place is cruel, unnatural, like a maze that never ends. Our minds have become as much of a prison as the crumbling walls of this monastery. We must find a way out. We must escape.
Yeah, you're right. This game could actually profit probably from the Switch 2 mouse.
Of this place.
So there we go. That was a little bit of the gameplay for the game, but definitely I think one that is definitely important to keep an eye on for this week. However, I just feel it's going to be overshadowed by other games this week. If it was coming out on a week where there were less like funky indie games already coming out, it would have had probably more success. But I don't want to discount this game because it is nonetheless probably going to be pretty solid. Someone mentioned it, but it is the same developers that did Blasphemous. So you sort of know it's probably going to be good. But definitely one I think we should keep an eye on. It's also in a weird price point at $29.99 and $34.99 for an unknown property in a style of gameplay that is maybe not like, it doesn't jump out at you at first as an excellent sort of gameplay style, but still keep an eye on this one. If you are in the mood for like funky gameplay for this week, I do think this one could be a very promising title. Now, jumping into the opposite spectrum of things, we're going to be looking at Hello Kitty Island Adventure that is releasing on January 30th and will have a sales price of $39.99 for the regular version or $59.99 for the deluxe version, which, by the way, has a bunch of unique items and stuff that comes with it. But ultimately, I took a look at what comes with the deluxe version. If you are going to be a fanatic about this game and you're going to want to personalize your island as much as possible, you're going to want to jump into the deluxe version because, like I said, it's apparently going to have a ton of unique items that is exclusive to the deluxe edition. But basically, this is like Hello Kitty's take on Animal Crossing. The craziest thing about this game is that about 18 years ago, South Park made a joke that they were playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure, and 18 years later, the game actually comes out. So it's like crazy to think that South Park predicted the future, and you sort of wonder if these developers actually watched that episode and called it Hello Kitty's Island Adventure. But either way, we're going to take a look because I've got to say, if you're into this style of gameplay, till another Animal Crossing comes out, this one might actually have some potential, and it does have some unique things that Animal Crossing does not have. So let's take a look at the trailer. It's going to be an acquired taste. You're either going to love this trailer or you're going to hate it. I've got to say, visually, I'm impressed, though. Like, the visuals are pretty clean. See, there seems to be a little bit of dungeon exploration mixed in, which is where I said it does something really different than Animal Crossing. Like, you saw it briefly there, but there seems to be a little bit of dungeon exploration. But if not, as I said, you can see that the rest of this is very heavily Animal Crossing inspired. And look, let's be honest, the Hello Kitty property fits in perfectly with this. So it's not like a totally unknown property that they're trying to make fit into something that shouldn't fit into it. It is ultimately, it works. It works. So the question is, how deep is the gameplay going to go? Is it going to be worth that $40 price tag for the regular game and $60 for the deluxe version? However, you know what? I do think that, like I said, if you're in the market for this kind of game, if you're a fan of Hello Kitty, I know a couple of girls that love Hello Kitty. I do think it could be a decent game for this week to pick up. It's either you're gonna be interested or you're not for this one. You know, it's one of those, like, you're into it or you're not. Okay, so that is done. Next, we have one of the games that I am extremely excited to play for this week. And when I said that I'm not sure I'm going to be playing Tales of Iron 2 on Friday, it's because this is one of the contestants to possibly take that spot. And that is a Laika Aged Through Blood, which is coming out on January 30th. It's going to be selling for $19.99 as a regular price, but get this. There's a pre-order discount of 35% off, dropping it to $12.99. That is a huge pre-order discount. And not only that, the game is delivered by Thunderful Games, that, by the way, for amongst which publishes the SteamWorld games, which are very high quality games, and many other very high quality games. So there's a strong possibility that this game is going to deliver a very good experience. So it's not like it's being published by an unknown property. And this is basically being described as a Western-inspired Motorvania. Okay? So it's a Metroidvania, but you are the whole time riding a motorcycle. It looks crazy. The art style is insane. Let's take a look at the trailer. This game has me extremely intrigued. And don't worry, we get an animated intro, but we do get a lot of gameplay as well. The music is amazing. It's hard to get a hang of how the gameplay works out, but there's something about it that is just so engaging. Like, just seeing it. By the way, the game is already out on Steam, and it seems to be very well received. So I do think there's going to be a high potential for this one. I'm extremely excited. It seems such like a funky concept that it's either going to work and be amazing, or it's gonna hit flat. But I do think that this one is going to hit well. It's going to be a good game. Hopefully. However, I definitely think that if you don't want to take the risk for the pre-order at $12.99, that's an extremely attractive price as well. I'm not going to lie. Even the $19.99 at full price seems to be very, very decently priced. I think they want to be aggressive to put this game out there and that people take a chance on it. But the $12.99 feels like they're trying to make sure that people pick up this game in a busy week, and they have confidence that if you pick it up, the word is going to get out that the game is good. I feel that that's their strategy with this one, and I think that's a very good strategy for this game, especially that it's, like I said, the concept is a little bit out there, and people need like that extra motivation to pick it up. So if you want to take a chance, I would say this is the one for this week. However, you can wait for a review, obviously, or maybe even I'll be playing it on Friday. It might be worth waiting if you're, you don't want to take that risk. Next, we are looking once again at January 30th, and we are looking at Phantom Brave, The Lost Hero. Now, this is a follow-up to a PS2 game, which was Phantom Brave. I actually have that on a Nippon Ishi collection. It is once again this one coming to us from Nippon Ishi as well. Now, the regular edition of this game is going to be a full price game. It is $60. It is $59.99. There is a deluxe edition. However, the deluxe edition is $109.99. There is, however, also a free downloadable demo on the eShop. So the good news is you can try this game out for free. There is a demo available. Before we get into the trailer and we look at the gameplay, I do want to mention that Nippon Ishi needs to stop with these overpriced deluxe editions. I've said it many times before for Nippon Ishi games. I love their games. I was a huge fan of every game since the PS2 that they've put out almost. However, they are starting to feel like they're abusing their loyal fans with these crazy deluxe editions that are $50 above the regular edition. And honestly, it just feels like they're trying to gouge their loyal fans. I have no price paying an extra $10, $15 for a deluxe edition if you're giving me exclusive things like art books and whatnot. But for a digital deluxe edition, $50 extra just doesn't make sense. It is too much, and it makes it feel like you're trying to gouge your loyal fans. I'm going to say that. To me, that's my feeling. It's not going to prevent me from liking the game or playing the game, but I do think some people are going to start resenting the fact that you do this, and they do it a lot for a lot of their games. So I'm done. That was my rant on like the deluxe edition being way overpriced in my opinion. But ultimately, let's take a look at the gameplay, because I do still think that they make excellent strategy RPGs. If you didn't know, this is a strategy RPG. They are most well known for the Disgaea series, and Phantom Brave. You'll see a lot of similarities to Disgaea because the base concept is the same. It's a strategy RPG. However, the Phantom Brave uses very different mechanics also for its combat. So let's take a look at the trailer and see what the game has to offer. So this one is going to have a pirate sub-theme to it.
A world dotted with countless islands of all shapes and sizes. A girl embarks on an adventure, accompanied by the souls of the dead.
So Phantom Brave obviously has to do with summoning phantoms but you'll see.
Providing aid to those in need.
Yep, that's me. Who are you?
You'll go no further. For her sake, I will not fail.
But one day, the duo is separated when they are attacked by a fleet of ghost ships.
And you'll see there's a really interesting concept during the fights with the different spirits that you'll acquire.
Apricot, the daughter of a legendary pirate.
Please, somebody help this girl! Please!
In hopes of reuniting with Ash, Marona decides to team up with Apricot. But first,
don't worry, there's going to be some gameplay in this trailer.
That defeated the ghost fleet once before. As As pirates and ghost ships terrorize the seas, the tale of a girl and her bond with phantoms unfolds before your very eyes.
It's obviously very heavily anime inspired, but Nippon Ishi has some very nice visuals to their games. And I've got to say, this one looks like probably one of their best
With the
games
unique
on the
Confine
visual
system,
side.
Anything and everything can become an ally. Confine the souls of your allies into weapons and natural objects to summon them in battle. Your choices about what, when, and where to confine your phantom friends bring limitless strategic options.
So it's really fun because you basically infuse the
Confine
spirits
souls into
into
everything,
different
from robots
objects.
and buggies to cannons, a pirate classic, to add them to your crew.
And it'll
And
create
if
different
all else
effects.
fails, pull off a show-stopping transformation by confining souls into yourself to turn the tide of battle.
And you can obviously
With
infuse them
infinite
into your
options,
character, which will give your
skies,
character
or
different
should I say,
abilities.
seas the limit.
Chartreuse! Yeah!
Stealing powers? Just who are you?
Hey, are you a phantom that can speak? I'm a phantom. I can't talk to anyone or touch anything. Apricot, please trust me. Now fight by my side. Wait, Ash?
I am Gray, not Ash.
So that's pretty much the Phantom Brave, the Lost Hero. Now, there is one sort of warning, but it's not really a warning. It could be a positive for some people, is that generally, if you've never played a Nippon Ishi strategy RPG, they are known for being very deep and very long games. So this is a game that sometimes you can play through the storyline, I would say in about 60 hours for the average game, but generally as well, if you want to go really deep, unlock a lot of side quests and side things, you can easily pour hundreds of hours into most of their games and still not see everything. And like they said, there's often an infinite possibility of combos of abilities. They are very well known for that. The fighting eventually often also goes over the top on damage and tactics and whatnot. But overall, they are extremely fun games if you're into the strategy RPG genre. If you've already played a Nippon Ishi game, you won't need any convincing. If you haven't played one, I would say this is probably going to be an excellent place to jump on because Phantom Brave hasn't had a follow-up in like over 20 years. So this is probably going to be a reset point for the series as well. Like they're probably going to introduce the tactics and all that. If not, you can always try out one of the Disgaea games first when they go on sale, get a feel for the way they do their games, and either you're going to love it or you're going to hate it. And if you love it, you're probably going to be a fan for life of their games, picking up a game every now and then and playing the crap out of it. So Phantom Brave, The Lost Hero is definitely a top release for this week, in my opinion. Like I said, just Nippon Ishi, if you watch any of this, please lower the price of your deluxe editions. Don't make your fans feel like they're being like basically cash cows ultimately. Okay, so we are more than halfway there. We've got 4 games left. So next we are going to be looking at the there's more games on the 30th. 30th is the big day for this week. So next we're going to be looking at a Rite from the Stars. Now this is my long shot for this week. Now I know I said Laika I was unsure of, but Laika I am strongly on the side that it's most likely going to be good. A Rite from the Stars is my long shot for this week. Now, this game is going to be releasing, as I said, January 30th. It's going to have a regular sales price of $11.99. Now, it seems to be a heartfelt action adventure puzzle game. We're going to take a look at the trailer, but I do feel that if this game has been remastered in a decent way, it could really flesh out some of the things, because the original game had sort of mixed reviews from what I can see, but there weren't that many reviews available. However, people said that there were really high, like the high points were high points, the low points were unfortunately low. if they iron those out in the remaster, we could be looking at something decent. Let's take a look. It sort of reminded me slightly of the last Campfire when I was watching the trailer, which is why, like I said, if I had a long shot for this week, it would probably be this one, or maybe the next game we'll be looking at as well. Now, some of the comments said that the platforming needed some smoothing out. I'm hoping that in the remastered version, they did work on that. So like I said, it is a long shot for this week, but I like taking a chance every week and highlighting a game that maybe at first glance a lot of people are going to look over, but in my opinion has some potential to maybe surprise us. And for me, I think a Rite from the Stars is going to be one of those games for this week. We, however, do have our next game that does fall in the same category. For just to wrap up a Rite from the Stars before we jump in, though, I do think I would wait for a review for this one. Like, I wouldn't spend the $12 till I'm pretty sure that the few issues that were mentioned were ironed out, like the platforming being like sort of a little rough around the edges. Now, our next game is also what I would call a long shot. However, I would say that this one is a safe long shot. And that is Basureroes, which is Basureroes Invasion, which is a 2D action platformer inspired, I would say, it feels very inspired by Mega Man. However, the big attractive point of this one is not only does the game offer you 4 different playable characters with different abilities, but you can even play in up to 4-player co-op. And a Mega Man style action platformer that you can play in co-op seems like an extremely attractive notion to me. And this one is going to be releasing on January 30th as well, and we will be selling for $12.49. Yes, trash invasion, basically. But you'll see it does feel like it has a ton of potential here. The gameplay looks good if you're into retro style gaming. It doesn't look like a revolutionary game. It just looks like extremely solid. And I said 4 playable characters, but I just saw that there are 7 playable characters. So I got that wrong. That is my mistake. 7 playable characters up to 4 at once. Yeah, it definitely has Rick vibes. This is like one of my games, you know? This is one of the games that I like to play and that no one else is gonna like except me. And there's even cart levels, guys. You know how I love cart levels. So there we have Basureroes Invasion that I think, if you're into retro style gaming and you just want a fun action platformer, as long as the controls are solid and responsive, I do think this one is going to scratch an itch for some people out there. I do want it, like I said, I like highlighting games that other people will not talk about, and I do think this one might have some potential. I'm gonna try to play it for this week. I think the developers are offering codes up. I'm gonna try to get one. I'm not sure I'm gonna have. I don't think it feels like a streaming game like that we're gonna stream live, but I am gonna try to do a little highlight piece on it if the game turns out decent one or on the opposite end not decent. I'll do a highlight piece just to warn against it. But I mean, hopefully we're gonna be looking at it on the positive side of things. But this one, January 30th, $12.49, pretty on the pretty budget end as well. I would have liked to see it at $10 though, to be honest. Like, I know it's only $2.50 extra, but I think at $9.99 it mentally would make it a much easier chance to take for a lot of people. That way, when you put it 50% off, it hits that under $5 mark and it becomes even easier to suggest. Okay, our last game for January 30th. And I'm going to be honest, I almost didn't include this game on the list because I couldn't find a English trailer for it. And I'm not quite sure why, but every trailer is either in Japanese or Korean. However, the gameplay concept seems so original that I do think we need to keep an eye on this one as well. This is the kind of game, however, definitely wait for a review. Because it can either hit the mark and be incredibly original in its gameplay and an absolutely phenomenal gameplay experience, or it could really try to do too many things and miss the mark. And that is KamiBako, that is coming out on January 30th and is going to have a sales price of $29.99. Now, I'm also going to say $29.99 is pretty expensive to just take a blind shot on, which is why I'm saying wait for a review for this one. But let's take a look at the gameplay. And I think that, like I said, there is so much potential here. However, it's trying to do so many things that it could also, unfortunately, become a problem. And unfortunately, we can't understand what they're saying in the trailer, or at least I can't. But it's supposed to be a mix of RPG, building, puzzle game. Like, basically, it's almost everything.
그곳에서 만나는 동료들과 함께 세계를 복구하라. 단편화된 토지를 복구하고 새롭게 시작하는 마을. 작은 마을을
So like you see there's like city builder elements. It's reminding me a lot of, I just want to pause it for a second. Like, it was giving me vibes from the Mana series, the game where you have to sort of like create, you create different environments and you sort of link them together in different ways. It seems to be like a more modern, evolved concept of that game. It is Legend of Mana. Thank you so much, Champ Dancer. Legend of Mana vibes. I think that's what I was getting from this game, and that's why I got attracted to it, even though I couldn't find an English trailer for it. But by the way, the game on the eShop says it's going to have full English, so that's why I don't understand why there isn't an English trailer available.
그리고 여정에 방해되는 적을 쓰러뜨려 얻은 소재로 무기와 방어구의 제작까지.
So there's very clearly RPG elements here. There's very clearly like city builder elements. And there's also puzzle gameplay, because I saw, oh, we're going to see here. You have very clearly puzzle gameplay as well. I don't know if we'll see it in this trailer, but I can guarantee you in other trailers there are real, like, the screen becomes a whole puzzle.
여행의 시작에서 두 가지의 모습 중 하나를 고르고 나면 여신의 선택을 받은 당신의 장엄한 모험이 바로 여기서 시작된다. 월드크래프트 RPG 카미바코 1월 30일 정식 출시.
So there we have KamiBako. Like I said, I really wish there would have been an English trailer. Unfortunately, this is what we have to work with for this week. I almost didn't include it on the list because of that. But at the same time, I found it sad to not include a game that looks very interesting because of that reason. But developers, can we please get like, if your game's coming out in English, can we please get an English trailer? Like, worst comes to worst, put the subtitles in English or something like that. But I have the English CC on, by the way. It wasn't translating it. So I'm sorry, guys. That's what we have to deal with. But nonetheless, KamiBako, Mythology of Cube, coming out on January 30th, for $29.99. And I would definitely say it could turn out to be one of those, like, games that falls under the radar at first and then ends up being an absolutely fantastic game. Now, our last game for this week is going to be one coming out on January 31st, so last day of January, Citizen Sleeper 2. Now, if you haven't seen Citizen Sleeper 1 on the eShop, it is an absolutely great sci-fi game. This is a dice-driven RPG. Now, if it measures up even partially to the first one, this could be a really, really great game. It'll be selling for $24.99, and there will be a pre-order discount, bringing it down to $22.49. Now, I'm repeating, Citizen Sleeper, January 31st, and let's take a look at the trailer. And if these comments are true that it improves on the original, like the original game, just to be clear, was already like an 8 out of 10 on the eShop. Like I said, it's a dice-driven RPG. Extremely unique gameplay mechanics. You really have to play it to understand the gameplay mechanics. But I can tell you right away, it's unique, but once you get into it, very understandable as well. The cyberpunk aesthetic is also extremely well done in the game. I think they do a great blend of, like, you know, occasional, like, highlights of really great artwork when you see the characters. At the same time, they really sell you the cyberpunk aesthetic during the gameplay. Sorry, I forgot there's a last little bit. I think it's just a launch date. Okay. But yeah, so this is the last game for this week. Citizen Sleeper 2. It's really hard to get a feel for the gameplay from the trailer. But trust me, if you are into RPGs with a very original gameplay format, this is going to be a great game. If you're unsure, wait till Citizen Sleeper 1 is on sale. You can pick it up for super, super cheap on the eShop when it is on sale. Try it out. And then you have the second one to wait for when you fall in love with the first one. This is definitely, however, not a game to sleep on. I think it is going to be an excellent game for this week, releasing on January 31st. So that was pretty much it for our new Switch games for this week. You know what? 10 games, and I've got to say, out of the 10 games, I am extremely excited for at least 4 to 5 of the games, with another 2 or 3 extremely high potential and maybe 1 or 2 long shots. So this week is, I would say, an extremely strong week for indie games on the Nintendo Switch. We are lucky that we are eating this well into the last year of the Nintendo Switch. Like, sometimes these last little bits are dead or like really bland, and we are getting a lot of really great games with original gameplay, gameplay principles. So as usual, as every week, let me know in the comments down below if you think I forgot any games. Let me know what games you are super excited to pick up for this week as well. And as usual, I hope I'll see all of you in my next video.